What's up, guys? Today we're going to do a playing review of the Selkirk AMP Pro Air. Here are the specs for the two models. You can read this while I'm talking. This paddle is an all-court paddle that is slightly less powerful than the Power Air, but has more power than the Lux. The Epic version gets a bit more spin, but they are very close to each other in that category across all the Selkirk edgeless paddles. This paddle is going to be for anyone who is a Selkirk fan and likes their holes and all and wanted a more controllable Power Air. Okay, so let's address the elephant in the room. Where's the pirate? Well, I am the pirate, and this is what I look like without any facial hair or without my do-rag, and I do wear glasses, and the glasses that I wear when I play, they're intentional because I can't see without them. So I'm not just wearing protective eye gear, I can't see without it. Also, we are going to be trying a different format, so please leave your comments below what you like, what you don't like about this, and we'll make an adjustment. So let's get into it. I personally think Selkirk made a great choice with the AMP Pro Air to reduce the price to $180 compared to all the other premium paddles have been. It's refreshing to see this reduction, especially because I think a lot of people who've enjoyed the Power Air might like this even more. Not because it's just a bit cheaper, but I think the paddle market is getting a little bit spendy. You know, paying $250 to $300 plus for a paddle 2 times a year is not really what people want. So I appreciate the fact that a company is taking the price down. Now that they got their manufacturing processes cleaned up and they've got everything developed, it makes it a little bit easier for them to reduce the prices because the manufacturing production cost has been eaten up. Let's talk about the differences. It has several noticeable differences compared to the Power Air. The most significant is that the AMP Pro Air is more forgiving. It offers a slightly more pleasing feel off the face and has higher swing weights. The Power Air Invicta had a swing weight about 112. The AMP Pro Invicta is about 119, and that's really a noticeable increase. The higher swing weight contributes to the AMP Pro Air feeling a bit more solid than the Power Air thanks to the additional weight in the head. To me, this is basically a bigger sweet spot Power Air that feels more like a Lux than a Power Air. Some people like Chris Olson have compared this to hitting a 2x4. And what I think he means by that is that it's a bit jarring when you hit off center. And when you're holding the paddle loosely, it'll vibrate in your hands a little bit. And then it doesn't feel as plush as some of the newer paddles out there. So it doesn't really have a high dwell time on the paddle, so the ball bounces off the paddle face crispier, and yes, crispier is a word. So it bounces off really quickly, so it doesn't feel soft and plush, it's just on the paddle and gone, but it's not unpleasant. See, I thought that the Power Air was very unpleasant. When I hit it, and especially on the off-center shots, it was very jarring to the hand, and I didn't like that feeling. So I think it definitely is a lot better in this regard. We got to remember that this paddle's predecessor was the Project 05, and I think they made some nice improvements over the 05. The 05 was not necessarily the best paddle, and the Power Air and the AMP Pro are not made of the same material. The AMP Pro Air is actually only fiberglass, while the Power Air is a mix of carbon fiber and fiberglass. So we're going to see what the change in the product material does for the longevity of the paddle face. It seems that it took a while for Selkirk to come out with this model. The Project 05 wasn't as good a paddle as far as spin goes, but was a decent control paddle. With the Lux being a thicker paddle at 20 millimeters, it was the control paddle with high spin. This paddle would be, you know, honestly what it would look like if the Lux and the Power Air had a baby. That's what you would get with AMP Pro Air. And also, this is the same paddle that Jack Sock plays. He switched from this to the Lux. He has a signature Lux coming out, but he plays the AMP Pro Air because it does give a little bit more pop without losing the control. The question with the Selkirk paddles are, they're still using the painted grit. It's known out to wear out a little bit fast. So especially if you're a hard hitter that plays with bangers a lot, this really feels like a bit of an afterthought, kind of really slow to market, but it does fit really right in between the Lux and the Power Air. Now the question is going to be, does the material hold the grit a little bit better? Being only fiberglass without the carbon fiber mix, it didn't affect the spin, but we'll see if the longevity, maybe the paint grit lasts a little bit longer on the fiberglass. We'll have to wait and see what comes of that as people start playing a little bit more. Now the AMP Pro Air is a pretty solid paddle if you're a fan of the Power Air, but wanted a little bit something different, a little bit thicker, offering a bit more control and slightly more pleasing feel. But if you like the Power Air, then this is going to feel way more plush, but it might not be enough to sway you. I personally, so when I played it, I added a little bit of tape to mine. Now I play all my paddles stock, but then I'll modify them to see what I like about this. So with all edgeless paddles, they have a little bit slighter, smaller sweet spot because there's no perimeter weighting. So when you have perimeter weighting, when you have an edge guard out here, it widens the sweet spot, it widens the mass because it pulls the weight to the edge of the paddle. Without that, the paddle is just the whole head face, and it's not that full around the edge. So what I did is I actually put some love dots. I call them love dots. They're just little bitty pieces of lead tape you can see right there. And so I actually put 1, 2, 3, 4. I put 4 love dots on this to just widen the sweet spot and bring that sweet spot out a little bit. And it also makes the paddle feel more plush. So when you add lead tape to it, I'm increasing the twist weight on this. I'm also increasing the swing weight a little bit with this. So probably closer to the 120 from the 119, but that's a little bit of an adjustment I like to make on a lot of my edgeless paddles. Almost every edgeless paddle I play, I will add some perimeter weight. I have now gone to a power config on this, which I'm going to test the next time I play. And that's, I've added a love dot here in the throat and here at the top. So now what I've done is I've made this whole face, tried to make it uniform by putting the weight perimeter-wise all the way around this through the throat hole. And so I'm just doing it right around this area here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's how I'm doing this to try the power config on this. So I'll let you know after this. I might do a follow-up review if this makes a big difference. Technically speaking, I've done this before on the Power Air, and it just gave it more power, more solidity, and it felt more stable on all the shots. So it really felt a little bit more plush in my opinion. One last thing before I get into the playing review. I'll show you the playing review here in a minute, but the colorways. Now, it's really funny to me that they created this green paddle. I like all the colorways, but I thought the green one was created for controversy. A green paddle with mostly green and yellow balls in the market, it seems to be intentional. Now, if you're a lower level player and you don't actually look at the paddle of your opponent when they're swinging at you, the green colorway is not going to bother you. If you're following the ball with your eyes, or you're not necessarily looking at the person's paddle position, the green color is not going to bother you. But if you're a higher level players typically read the paddle angle of their opponents. And so then you are going to lose the ball in that paddle. I personally just bought one to mess with my friends because I want to hear them gripe about it because they haven't outlawed or made green illegal. So I'm just going to do it to irritate them because, I don't know, it's a little bit fun. But let's get into the playing review here. Let's take a look at what it looks like when I am just getting used to the paddle. Let's look at serves and serve returns and see how the paddle performs there, see if there's anything better about it there. I'm in the top right, and one of the things about grit paint, you can see there where I was hitting halfway through the court. A lot of times you're looking for more dwell time when it comes to high spin paddles. This is more of a striker's paddle because it's only 16 millimeter. It glances off the ball, so you got to really adjust, hit upwards at the ball, so the spin will bring it back in. So it's a little bit of a learning curve for those that haven't played edgeless. You know, I like the fact that after the serves and the serve returns, I really wasn't hitting the ball long. I really felt that there's enough pop and enough control. That's why I kind of put it in the all-court category with this paddle, because it's got great spin, and it can control the ball, and I'm not rocketing the ball out of bounds. So I was able to hit deep returns and deep serves to keep pressure on my opponents, hitting that deep third of the courts. Now, where this paddle really excels, I think, is the drop shots. The drop shots, I was able to just pick up the paddle. I did miss a few short because it took a couple points to just get in the swing of this paddle because all the different paddles I test. I don't play them very often, so it takes me a little bit, but this is a paddle that did not take a learning curve. That's the other thing that I think that was very important is that I could just pick up this paddle and play with it. If you like the control paddles or you like the edgeless paddles, you'll be able to just pick this up and play with it. If you're going from a traditional paddle, carbon face paddle, to this paddle, it's going to be vastly different for you in the feel because it's edgeless, it doesn't have a carbon fiber face, and it's a lower dwell time than some of those paddles. But I was able to hit drop shots from everywhere, able to put spin on the drop shots, really felt I was in complete control of this paddle from third shot land. Also in resets, I really felt like in the resets, getting in the no man's land was really able to just reset, very soft touch. Now, I played deluxe, never really could control the Power Air, so I was really looking forward to, trying this in third shot drop. Found that this paddle was very controllable, plenty of spin on it. It's near the 2000 in spin, so you can hit any shot you want. Just doesn't have high dwell time because of the thinner paddle like I was talking about earlier. So you got to kind of strike across the ball and just trust the paddle. A little bit less lift than you would on the normal carbon fiber paddles that grab the ball and kind of throw it upwards. This one does not. Now, I think where this paddle actually surprised me was it has a good amount of pop. It was definitely not as powerful as the Power Air, right? We've talked about that. The problem with the Lux is you couldn't get putaways, right? If you were at the net and you were in a hands battles or you were trying to put the ball away, the softer paddles, it makes it really, really hard to put the ball away. So you have to really work at it. This paddle really did well in the counter punches. I felt like I was able to put pressure on my opponents, or if any of my speed ups, it was just coming with that slight bit more pace. So it was able to actually put some pressure on my opponents here and really able to do some good defensive and offensive work at the kitchen. So I thought that the pop was really, really good. I actually thought this was one category that this paddle excelled in. It has just enough pop to give you put away power and striking ability and counter punching from the net, but not so much that it's not controllable like the Power Air. I thought the Power Air had a very small sweet spot. This has a good sweet spot, controllable with put away power. I think that the drives on this, I was pretty impressed with the drive power. I think this is just enough power for those that couldn't play the Power Air but wants a little bit more than the control paddle and love the Selkirk line. This paddle here drove really well. You can put enough spin on it to hit any kind of shot you want. I was even able to hit a one-handed backhand roll shot with it. You're not going to overpower people with this paddle, but you're going to get enough pace on it that they're going to have to react. So I think it's really a good all-court paddle. So gauging the paddle in the kitchen, I really felt comfortable with the paddle. Like, it doesn't have a high dwell time, but very controllable. So you can tell it's a 16 millimeter paddle versus the 19 millimeter Lux, 20 millimeter Lux. This paddle has a little bit of vibration. So, you know, I put a little bit of perimeter weight on it because when I was getting sped up to be able to reset, hitting it off the edge from down here, I wanted to be able to do that a little bit more controllable for me because it's a little bit light for me, but really able to dial it in and put the ball. You can really see the precision and the closeness you can hit to the net with this. So at the kitchen, this paddle really excelled. Now, obviously, I say this in almost every one of my reviews, the game is won at the kitchen. And I love this paddle in dink battles. Man, I really feel like if you are a control player and you need that just a little bit extra help and you're a Selkirk fan, great paddle for you. You're gonna have no problems at the kitchen. Very controllable paddle, still able to put spin, still able to do some cuts with it in any of the shots in there. And so I was actually really excited to get to the kitchen with this paddle just because I knew it would perform the way I'm expecting it to. And I was playing the Lux before that I played the Project 003. So I've always been a control-oriented player. I've never been able to play paddles that are hotter because I just have never been that great at grip strength. Like my grip pressure, I tend to over squeeze when I get excited and I squeeze my hands. That's what kind of happens, and you have to really hold a loose grip. And so that's why I added the perimeter weight, because as you start softening your hands for resets, things like that, you need a little bit of help on this paddle on the edges because it will turn in your hands. That's the only knock I could really have on this paddle is when you're defending a punch shot, like somebody hits it at you or drives it at you. If you're hitting it out on the edge, if you're hitting the paddle out here on the edge, it's going to twist a little bit because it does have a little bit of a lower twist weight. I wanted to add a little bit of lead tape to increase that twist weight, so my resets were a little bit more consistent there when I didn't hit the sweet spot, which I missed the sweet spot probably more than I hit the sweet spot, but maybe that's just me. You'll be just fine if you're hitting the sweet spot all the time. This paddle resets like a champ. I want to thank Selkirk for sending us this paddle, and if you use our code, thank you so much for using our code. It helps us keep the lights on, helps us keep bringing you this great content. If you purchase this paddle using our code, you will get a gift card in the mail after 30 days. You can spend that in the Selkirk store to buy other gear. But if you don't like Selkirk and you're not a fan of edgeless paddles and you want to check out a different brand, check these out.